Friday, September 12th, 2008, was a hot and hazy afternoon in Chatsworth, California. People were enjoying ice cream and relaxing in their swimming pools. Little did they know, it would turn tragic in an instant. Metrolink is a commuter railroad founded in 1991 that serves residents living in Southern California. It consists of 62 stations over a span of 534 miles, or 859 kilometers. It connects with the LA Metro Rail, San Diego Coaster, as well as Amtrak services, most notably the Pacific Surfliner, Coast Starlight, Sunset Limited, and the Texas Eagle, among other trains. It has 52 locomotives and 137 Bombardier bi-level coaches, and the same number in Hyundai Violating bi-level coaches. At 05:54 that morning, 47-year-old Metrolink engineer Robert M. Sanchez arrived at the Montalvo crew base and reported for duty along with his conductor. They discussed the track warrants as well as bulletins applicable to their route. A few minutes later, at around 06:45, they departed eastward, headed for Los Angeles Union Station, operating as Train 106, making 10 station stops along the way. Once they got the train to the station, they parked it at the Central Maintenance Facility. Then, they went off duty. Sanchez drove home, as was his routine, while his conductor decided to stay in the area and rest in the company crew room, where it is quiet. A few hours later, at 11:30, the three-man crew of UP train LOF 65-12, also known as the Leesdale Local, reported for duty at Gemco, California. Gemco is a large UP rail yard located in Van Nuys, California, about a 34-minute drive north of Union Station. The crew was tasked to service a few industries along the tracks that day. They left the yard at 12:30. The power is composed of two SD70 ACs, UP 8495 and UP 8491. An hour and a half later, at 1400, the Metrolink crew returned to the Central Maintenance Facility, ready to start the second part of their regular split shift schedule. Engineer Sanchez told his conductor that he didn't get much sleep during his break, about 2 hours. They discussed the new bulletins, then got a ride to their train, which would be operating as train number 111. In the lead was F59PH number 855 and 3 bi-level coaches, one being a cab control car. Sanchez proceeded to bring his train into Union Station at 15:12. While en route to the station, he received a text message from an individual we will call Patrick. This would be the first of 7 messages he would send to Sanchez on that tragic afternoon. While at the station, waiting to depart west, Sanchez received another set of messages from Patrick. He also placed phone calls, although neither of them to Patrick. One was to a restaurant in Moorpark, California, to order a sandwich. During that time, the UP crew had finished up their tasks and were returning to Gemco. Behind their train were 17 cars. At 15:34, Metrolink train 111 departed Los Angeles Union Station on time, headed west to Moorpark, California, a city with a population of around 34,000 at the time. About a minute later, Patrick texted Sanchez again. They texted back and forth throughout the trip. This is in violation of railroad operating rules. At 15:51, eastbound Amtrak train 784 was operating on the same track as train 111. The Metrolink dispatcher decided to have the two trains pass each other at control point Raymer. However, the switch at the control point was switched in favor of the Amtrak train. The Metrolink had a stop indication on the signal. When Sanchez arrived at the signal, he radioed the Metrolink Operations Center saying, "All red Raymer." Meanwhile, he texted at the signal he offloaded and loaded passengers at the Van Nuys station. He also sent more text messages to Patrick. Once the Amtrak train passed and the station stop was completed, Sanchez radioed, "Back in green," at Raymer. Meanwhile, as train 111 continued on its journey, the Leesdale local entered onto the same track as the Metrolink train. To avoid any collisions, the dispatcher aligned switches for the UP freight train to enter the 11,300-foot siding at CP Topanga. The signal for train 111 would be red, indicating to Sanchez that he wait on the signal until the freight train was safely in the siding. Only then would the signal change to the all clear indication, a green light, allowing train 111 to proceed west. At 14:14, Sanchez arrived at Northridge Station, where he made a 40-second stop. He then proceeded toward Chatsworth, about 6 minutes down the line. Sanchez called the green signals as required by Metrolink operating rules. At CP Burnson, Sanchez called a flashing yellow signal indication, also known as an advanced approach indication. This signal means that the engineer must be prepared to stop at the next signal. The next signals were yellow, allowing the train to proceed, but at limited speed. However, Sanchez did not make a radio call acknowledging call records indicating that at 16:20, the UP conductor sent a text message on his phone. This one related to a track warning. Investigators said this didn't play a role in the accident as he was not driving the train. Soon after, the train received an indication through the signal limited diversion, letting the crew know that they would be entering onto the siding. At around the same time, train 111 made a station stop at Chatsworth. The conductor opened the doors and stepped out as the passengers got on and off. Once the process was completed, he radioed the engineer, "Highball 111" on a green signal, although it was never recorded on any recording device. The conductor said he never received an answer from Sanchez. The train then pulled away from the station. Under the rules, he was not to exceed 40 miles per hour until the next signal indicated a clear green aspect. At 16:21, Sanchez received the last message he would ever receive from Patrick, while blowing the horn for multiple grade crossings. The train exceeded the permitted speed of 40 miles per hour by more than 10 miles per hour. Realizing this, Sanchez applied a small amount of brake, slowing the train a bit. He then released them, then sent another text message to Patrick. A few moments later, the shocked UP crew saw the Metrolink train appear in front of them as they rounded a curve. They put the train into emergency braking, but it was too late. At 16:22, the two trains collided head-on with tremendous force. Moments after the collision, rescue workers arrived on the scene. They found a sight straight out of hell, a twisted heap of wreckage and bodies, as well as injured survivors. The Leesdale local train's lead unit was found on its side. The crew was trapped inside because the door was too high for any of the men to reach it. Even the other door that they could have used was blocked by Train 111's locomotive. The second unit was found to be in an upright position, allowing the brakeman to escape. Meanwhile, fuel was leaking from the fuel tank of the Metrolink locomotive, causing a fire which the firefighters extinguished. It was resting next to the cab containing the engineer and conductor. Firefighters realized that there were men trapped when they heard pounding against the window of the SD-70 Ace's window. They saw the men inside and tried to smash the window, and then tried cutting the window, but were unsuccessful until they cut the rubber mold around it. When they removed it, smoke filtered out from the cab. One crew member wasn't able to move and had to be carried out by firefighters. The other crewman was able to escape but had severe back injuries. On board the Metrolink coaches, firefighters worked tirelessly to free the debris off passengers. They were put onto backboards where they were triaged. 25 people died, 28 suffered serious injuries, and 73 minor injuries. Among the dead was Robert Sanchez, the Metrolink engineer. The total loss of the locomotives and cars from both railroads totaled an estimated $12.143 million. A look at Engineer Sanchez's work records doesn't paint a pretty picture. In 2005, he was hired by Connex, the contractor that provides Metrolink its engineers and conductors, as well as management and training services after he left his job at Amtrak. In the previous 4 years, he had been disciplined for having missed assigned jobs and failing to report that a conductor was late for an assigned train. He was also reprimanded in 2006 for being absent too many times in the year. And just 2 days before the accident, he was disciplined for cell phone use. The 57-year-old conductor joined the company in June of 2005. He did receive a disciplinary letter for having delayed Train 119 at Moore Park on August 19, 2008. Aside from that, he was a well-disciplined worker. The UP engineer was 65 years old and joined the Union Pacific Railroad in 1969. He had a fairly clean disciplinary record, with nothing on it for the past 2 years prior to the collision. The conductor was 32 years old, hired in June of 1998, and had a clean record with Union Pacific. The brakeman was 64 years old and was hired in January 1965. He had no disciplinary actions in the prior 2 years. Patrick was a teenage boy and a rail fan who had many friends who shared the same interests. Among them are Brooklyn and Jeff, who like him were rail fans, passionate about railroads. Patrick said that he met Sanchez through one of his friends in May of that year. At station stops, he would engage in conversations with him. Other times he would just say hi and leave him to his train operating duties. Patrick said he would sometimes text Sanchez while he was working a run. He would text back whenever he had the chance. He also spoke to him at around 12:30 that day, even recalling that Sanchez was sounding cheerful and happy. They sent each other some texts that morning as well. Patrick also stated that after 15:35, he received text messages about every 15 minutes from the 47-year-old engineer. The last one was concerning the late Amtrak train at 16:22. Shortly after receiving the text message, he turned on the local news station and heard about the nightmarish situation involving his friend. The exchanges between Patrick and Sanchez are quite disturbing, as Sanchez talks about letting the teenager run the train between Moorpark and Montalvo. Here is a reenactment of the conversation.
Yeah. But I'm really looking forward to getting you in the cab, and showing you how to run a locomotive.
OMG, dude, me too. Running a locomotive, having all that in the palm of my hands. It's a great feeling. And I'll do it so good from all my practice on the simulator.
I'm gonna do all the radio talking. We're gonna run the locomotive, and I'm gonna tell you how to do it.
Moreover, Sanchez arranged a ride-along on the evening of September 9th. Brooklyn and Jeff apparently boarded the train in Chatsworth, where they reportedly rode it to LA. Also, in text messages concerning this ride-along, Patrick was up in the cab touching the controls, and Sanchez also texted how much Jeff wanted to stay in the seat. On the morning of September 10th, Sanchez messaged Brooklyn saying,
You wanna run again tonight, to Montalvo? If you can. This time I'm taking a picture of you, at the hotel. We should have the 8:66 this evening.
A bit tougher to get in and out of the cab, but it should be fine.
Patrick and Sanchez messaged each other in numerous text messages leading up to the accident. They were worried about getting caught riding in the cab by other riders. On the afternoon of the accident, Sanchez emailed Patrick a plan on how he could board the train in Moorpark. Here is a reenactment of the exchange.
Very crafty. Looks good, man. And I will have my cell phone.
About 6 minutes later, he texted,
Okay, I got it printed out. Makes perfect sense. I think you'll be on the main.
In a Metrolink notice dated July 8, 2008, it stated that only the engineer, conductor, mechanical riders, operating managers, and others with proper written authorization are permitted on the head end or control compartment of Metrolink trains. Also, use of mobile devices is strictly prohibited while operating a train. Electronics must be out of the reach of railroad crews, stowed away in backpacks or a locker. They must only be used in case of an emergency, when off duty or conducting railroad business, copying a track warrant or a similar document. Sanchez's incompetence led to the death of many people who entrusted him with their lives that hot day in the California palm trees. By texting at the controls of his train, he was distracted from the task at hand. Although he may have meant well to the young rail fans, in reality, he put them in great harm. His bloody fingers will haunt the population of Chatsworth for the rest of their lives. In the years following the tragedy, Metrolink installed Positive Train Control, or PTC, a system that stops or slows the train automatically. In fact, it was the first railroad to install it in the United States. If something as horrible as this was going to happen to you, would you be able to see it coming? Thank you for watching this episode of Diesel Disaster. If you have an idea or a topic for a future episode, don't hesitate to let me know.